Hello.
Hey.
Hi guys, welcome back. Today is the 14th. Is it the 14th of July? Yes, it's the 14th of July, and it is day 116 of our lockdown. So yeah, like, what do you reckon? Do you reckon we'll get to 150? Yeah, I'm gonna have to start taking bets on when, like, is it gonna be when we're both back in work? Because you might not be back in work for
I don't know.
ages.
I really don't know what's happening there.
The collapse of civilization might happen before this vlog ends. So yeah, it might be when YouTube stops running. Don't know. But I've had a very productive day on the work front. We still don't have a day set for when we're reopening, but actually, are we keeping you up, Babs?
Sorry, the very thought of being productive was exhausting to me. I haven't had a productive day at all, I'm afraid to say.
That's all right.
I've done good.
I'll earn the money to keep you in comics.
I've sort of done good mental health.
Good.
Day, I think. Just
Yeah, just switching off a little bit. I think that's what the doctor ordered, really. I think it's been a few tense ones, so I think if you need to have it, I don't think productivity should be the top of the list of priorities right now, really. Like,
no.
Keeping sane is more important.
That is true, but the flip side of that is there are things I would like to get done, and going, I'm no closer to having got them done. Do you know what I mean? So it's like...
What other things do you want to get done?
I want to make some more videos and do some more writing.
But you can't really do things like writing when your head's not in a good space anyway, because it's not going to be good, is it?
I mean, you say that, but then there are professional writers who that is their job, and they just have to get it done. And that is a job that I would aspire to, rather than like a mundane retail job.
Yeah,
so
that's different though, because if you are professional, you're getting paid for your job, whereas if you're just doing it sort of off your own back, it's harder to motivate yourself.
It's difficult to be like, I would like to make some YouTube videos, and then hopefully people might give some money to like my coffee account sometime. It's all very speculative, isn't it? It's hard to kind of motivate yourself.
I think if you had like a job that you're getting paid to do, even if your head wasn't in the right space, you'd sort of force yourself. But it's different when you're not on a deadline, not feeling motivated, not feeling inspired. I think ultimately, if you've taken a sort of day to just have sort of positive mental health stuff and well-being stuff, then fine, have at it.
Yeah, no, I mean, ultimately it is fine. It is just like, yes, I am keen to at some point get some stuff done, but that is also, it's all fine.
It's all broadly
fine. All broadly fine.
But yeah,
you have been productive.
I have been productive. Yeah, I had a meeting for work with David, who you met, who is my business partner, to sort of create a plan of action for what we need to do in order to be able to reopen, and then started ticking off some of those tasks that we agreed on doing.
He's also your brother, isn't he?
I said that.
You said he's your business partner.
So David, who you met, my brother, and he's my business partner.
I mean,
well, I've said many times my brother is my business partner.
My point is, clearly it's not what you know, is it? Who you know in the escape room business. What nepotism? Maybe I wanted to be your business partner. But
I didn't know you then.
Up for interview? No.
And it was his
Maybe
idea.
I'd have applied for that job. Maybe I'd have applied for coming up with that idea.
Yeah, no, it's just a business that we founded together. It's not nepotism if you just do it together.
Oh,
I might hire you.
You're as bad as people who've been to Eton.
You might like nepotism if I actually hire you. So
it's not so bad, is it, nepotism, when you think about it?
Well, yeah, because it might, like, actually having somebody sort of trained up who is flexible, but we could be flexible around your comedy work, and you could be flexible with us. That might be actually quite a realistic opportunity.
I resent the implication that I'm not the best person for the job. To even suggest that it would be nepotism to hire me.
You suggested that.
No, you said you might like nepotism if I hire you. And well, it's not nepotism if you hire me, because I'm the best person for the job. So that's just.
It's still kind of a bit of nepotism, though, isn't it?
No, because I'm just the best one.
Okay. I don't think you are. You didn't apply last time we were hiring, but there were some very good candidates. Well,
I mean, you hired the best one, so like I'm the best that you haven't already hired. I'm not as good as Conan, obviously, but I'm the best person that you haven't already hired, is what I'm saying.
okay, well,
In the world.
Would you want? Right, okay. So next time we do hiring, then
Yes.
I'll interview you, and then you have to compete with the other people we interview.
Okay, but you do have to hire me, regardless of how the
Then
interviews
that would
go.
be nepotism, wouldn't it? So yeah. Yeah, what we're probably going to do, because this has actually been announced in the latest sort of big announcement in terms of sort of the budget, the mini budget, which is sort of financial planning going forward, which actually we think we will take advantage of. One thing that is good is any furloughed employees that are still employed by January. So basically, if you haven't fired them, if you've kept them on the books under furlough, you get £1,000. The employer gets £1,000 per employee, so that's good. That's me and Conan who've been furloughed. So as long as I'm still working for me in January, then the business gets £1,000, which it needs. But also there's a scheme, because one of the predictions that I think is quite likely is that lots of jobs are going to be lost through this. That's sort of undeniable. And the group that will be hardest hit by that will be young school leavers who don't have a lot of job sort of experience yet, and there'll be fewer jobs to go for, and they'll likely be the ones that struggle to get work and will be unemployed for longer. So they've created a scheme so that whole generation doesn't get left behind, which is going to be for people aged 16 to 25. Which is going to essentially be that an incentive where you can hire people in that age group, and the government will pay their wages for the first 6 months of their employment. There will be small print in that, which we don't know about yet. I don't think the minutiae of the details there have been announced. But basically, that is brilliant for us, because one of the most expensive things, it takes quite a lot of training to do what we do. Because we're not there are escape rooms out there that you kind of buy pre-built, and it's kind of pre-programmed, and everybody will go in and have exactly the same experience. We don't really do it that way. You need to use your judgment a bit more and be able to think on your feet a bit more, and it is more of a personalised experience. So you need to be quite well trained, and training people is expensive, because you're essentially paying 2 or more people to do one person's job while someone trains, so it's quite expensive. So if we could get a few people in and trained essentially free, then we've got a whole little pool of employees. That means that we can open additional hours, open additional rooms, and they're already trained. So that, I think, we will grab by the balls, basically, and just like, yes please, yes, well, let's have some minions, and get them trained up ASAP. But it does depend on what the small print's going to be on that. But that's actually going to be very good for young people, also going to be very good for small businesses, because small businesses struggle. I'm sure big businesses will still be eligible to do that, and the upshot is that young people will have more opportunity than perhaps they would have otherwise. But for small businesses, hiring new staff and sort of all the HR costs that come with that is a big chunk of your income. So actually, if that can be if the training period for 6 months as well, like we could get someone trained up in 6 months, blimey neck. So that would be brilliant. So I'm actually all for that. It may in the long term be a bit of a sticking plaster on a gaping wound, but one that will just happen to benefit us quite significantly in the short term. But hopefully at the end of those 6 months, as we're just sort of coming into a period where we can make the business grow, if we can make the business grow and we've already got that pool of staff to sort of lean on, hopefully that will be that we can take some, if not all of the ones that we train on in permanent positions, or possibly 1 or 2 of them in casual and 1 or 2 of them in permanent. And yeah, I'm very excited about that. So that's something good that this government has done.
A good thing I think about the escape rooms,
yes,
is that like if you're kind of stuck in lockdown and you're excited about maybe being able to go out and do something with your family, with the people you've been locked in with, but you're a bit anxious about, going out
mixing with
and
the general
mixing with
populace,
other people at the cinema or the pub or whatever it might be, you can go to an escape. Well, not all escape rooms, but your escape room specifically. You only ever have one group in at a time.
We will not have. You will be the only ones there apart from 1 or 2 members of staff
who will remain socially distanced
and
be all responsible, which you can't always say of members of the public in other places. But and you disinfect the rooms between. So if you kind of go, well, we've been stuck in the house for months. We want to go out and do something as a family. Or as a group of housemates, whatever it might be. But be anxious about going to places where there's going to be loads of other people. The escape room is kind of perfect.
Yeah, I think actually, like, it is good for that because it is quite a low risk activity in that sense. So yeah, I think that's something that works in our favour, and also I think there will be people who are quite sort of stir crazy and antsy and want to get out and about and have a change of scenery, do something. And the good thing about escape rooms in general is you do really feel like you've got a story to tell, you've got an experience. It's not just something passive that you go and just do, like watch a film. It feels like
you've gone out and done something active.
You've
engaged with stuff and
got a story to tell after it.
Also,
it sort of feels like an achievement, and it feels like a good anecdote, and really good fun. So hopefully there'll be a load of people raring to go.
Also, if you've been like sort of doing most of your shopping online, and you've been off work or working from home, and you've essentially been in your house most of the time,
which we certainly have.
I imagine the experience of going to a place and getting to kind of play out the experience of like escaping from something might actually be quite cathartic for a lot of people.
Well, because a couple of people, I think there's 2 ways you can look at it. Either it's going to be really satisfying because it's going to be people breaking out of being locked in and they felt quite shut in, or it's going to be the flip side, which is being like, I've been locked in for fucking months. I don't want to be locked in anyway. But hopefully I think it will be the former. I think most people will find it sort of enjoyable change of scenery, and just the idea of sort of, you're locked in, but you break out, and that's the point. Will hopefully be good. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm not going to sort of be complacent about it, because also there will be a lot of people with less money in their pockets, and that's fair. So we might, I'm hoping there'll at least be an initial burst of interest when we sort of go, bookings are open from this date. I will hope to get sort of a good little burst, but then going forward we might have to be a little bit more on it in terms of generating sales than perhaps we were pre-COVID,
just
because
to reiterate,
people might not have as much disposable income.
Just to reiterate, while the escape rooms are not yet open, you can get gift vouchers.
Yes. But I won't do too much plugging for the escape rooms, because what I will do is when bookings are open, I will tell you, I'll give you the links, and I'll let you know, because I don't think we're too far off being able to set an opening date, which will probably be early August. And so on that date, before that date, I will open bookings. So you'll be able to go online and book. And I think we're going to do some incentives again for like the under 25s and stuff, because they probably got the least money and could do with a bit of cheering up right now. So I think I'm cautiously optimistic that people will come and they will book, and then we'll have a little bit of an influx of income, which we could do with, because we need to grow and we need to make improvements. And obviously all of this has kind of depleted the reserves that we had. But we're in a much better position than some businesses which have had to fold entirely, or just the uncertainty of everything, and actually having higher running costs have meant that they couldn't wait this long, and unfortunately have sort of fallen by the wayside. So I'm glad we've been able to keep going. I'm glad having that on the horizon has actually really perked me up. Emotionally speaking, the idea of going back to work is still a bit daunting. I'm still getting a little bit of anxiety about it. But on the flip side of that, having stuff to do and productive things to do, and a list of stuff I've got to get done and achieve and be productive about, actually today having an afternoon meeting and then a few hours of actually doing some of those things that we could set the ball rolling was really good for me. I think I felt like, right, this is good. This is sort of feeling a little bit more in control, a little bit more like I've got a plan, all things that make me less mental. So that's good. But there'll be other things to be daunted about and anxious about, I'm sure. But we'll see. We'll just have to roll with the punches on that. But fingers crossed, we'll be able to actually open back up soonish, within a matter of weeks. But that is all very much, and every single stage of every announcement that has come from the Welsh government has been, if the situation allows. So they gave, I think they've given 3 weeks to prepare, and if all is well at the end of those 3 weeks, then they will say, yes, on Monday you can open. If by that Friday or Thursday, whenever they do the big announcement, it's looking a bit ropey on the numbers, they might go, oh, unfortunately, press pause. But I think that would only be if it's gone badly wrong, because actually lots of businesses being given 3 weeks to prepare. For us, it wouldn't be too bad because we don't sort of have to buy in perishable stock or anything like that. But for, say, indoor restaurants and pubs, and they're all sort of opening around about the same time, if pubs stock in a whole bar and then they go, no, you can't open, quite a lot of the stuff will go off, and that will have been very expensive. So I think they're probably quite cautious, and it's fairly reliable that we will be looking at opening that first week of August, as long as the numbers haven't plummeted to scary times. So fingers crossed. More on that as it develops, I guess.
We've got lots of things to talk about today, though.
Mm-hmm.
And next, if it's all right with you, I'd like to talk about Wetherspoons.
Well, have at it.
So, Wetherspoons, the pubs that you should not be going to if you have any moral fibre. Look, I mean,
I feel a bit awkward sort of saying it as blanket as that, because I do realise that they are a big employer, and I do know people who work in Wetherspoons.
That said, they don't treat their employees very well.
No.
If Wetherspoons are all to fault, I mean, and also through opening up in various cities and things, more jobs have been lost from competing venues closing than have been generated by them existing.
I quite agree. Their politics and their ethics in general are fairly deplorable, and throughout the coronavirus crisis have been exceptionally so. But I do feel a little sort of reserved in saying just fuck them, because by saying that I am essentially wishing some people I know out of jobs.
Well, look,
and that just makes you feel a bit. It's not it's nuanced.
Well, look, all right, I'm not going to tell people not to go to Wetherspoons, but I will provide them. I will provide them with some more information. Mm-hmm. Wetherspoons are doing an offer at the moment. They're offering pints for £1.29.
Now, I saw about this.
You might think, well, what's so bad about that? That's actually good news. Well, I have some facts that explains why that is bad. I can never retain facts, which is why Ellie just sort of says all these things and I have to refer to notes. But basically, Wetherspoons have had a £48 million loan underwritten by the taxpayer. That's how they're financing this.
Is that a bounce back loan, do you know? Because I think all businesses are eligible for bounce back loans up to 25% of their annual turnover for last year.
Sure.
But they are underwritten by the taxpayer.
But the point is, they're supposed to be using that money to kind of keep their business afloat, not to kind of undercut their competitors.
Absolutely.
Which might actually be damaging to other independent businesses. And they're using that money to get a competitive advantage, which is actually against state aid rules.
What they're doing with that, £1.29 a pint is basically they're going to deliberately make a huge loss on pints so that they get people through the door, so that people don't go to their rivals because they can't afford to, and their rivals go under. They're not even trying to just get maybe an extra sort of 5 to 10% of custom. They are trying to get all of it.
So that's the thing, is I get people working Wetherspoons and jobs will be lost, but Wetherspoons are actively trying to put other businesses out of business. And
I would a million times over prefer Wetherspoons branches to close than small independents. And small independents don't have a big pot of resources to dip into, whereas once you are a corporation of a certain size, if you made huge profits last year, essentially you should be using those profits before you're getting bailouts. If you've got money in the pot, then use that rather than getting extra.
Sorry, Ellie, I need to correct myself. I said that what Wetherspoons was doing was against state aid rules.
Right.
Sorry, I have to correct myself there. It is not against state aid rules. It would have been against state aid rules if we were still in the EU.
Oh, so that might be why he was a massive Brexit wanker then.
Why Tim Martin was so keen and vocal for us to leave the EU, so we could start doing things like this. Also, they're implying that it's because of a VAT reduction.
Yeah, that's not happening. VAT is being reduced. Well, VAT isn't on alcohol anyway. I don't think it's normal VAT rules for alcohol. But even if it were, VAT, because I think alcohol has different taxations anyway. But VAT currently was at 20%, and I think in the mini budget they've said they're going to reduce it in certain sectors to 5% as a means to sort of reduce running costs for mainly I think hospitality and tourism, which pubs and bars and restaurants would come under that. But I don't think alcohol has, because alcohol has different taxation anyway. So they're making up that. That's a lie, that is. They are just using taxpayers' money to undercut other pubs deliberately to put other pubs, not even just to sort of like get an edge on them. That is literally trying to make them nobody go to anyone else.
Well, also, by implying that they're passing on the saving from the VAT reduction, which is just a lie because that VAT reduction doesn't apply to alcohol, but by implying that's what they're doing, they're simultaneously implying that other bars in the area that you might go to
could have done that and
could have passed on a saving but choosing to keep that money for themselves, which just isn't true because the saving doesn't exist.
No, they are using a bailout fund to undercut competitors, which is a dick move.
So I'm not telling you not to go to Wetherspoons, but just obviously don't go to Wetherspoons.
Yeah, we won't be going to Wetherspoons.
Also, it might be easy for us to sit here and say, well, we're not going to go to Wetherspoons because we live in Newport, and you know, to go to a Wetherspoons, we'd have to go to the town centre anyway. Yeah. And by the time we're in the town centre, well, we might as well go to Le Pub,
somewhere better,
or Tiny Rebel, or the Muringer.
Yep.
You know,
there's the Carpenters as well. There's McCann's. So there's some nice little independents.
Choices of different venues.
The Muringer actually is a Sam Smith's pub, but they're still a good. They're still good eggs in the Muringer.
They're still certainly a lot better than a Wetherspoons, and they're a nice kind of old wood-panelled, quiet pub with lots of little alcoves you can go and sit in. Tiny Rebel has got like all sort of craft beers and nice ciders, and they do delicious food, and that's really nice. And Le Pub. You know,
Le Pub is brilliant. Le Pub is publicly owned. It's a cooperative, with basically a bunch of regulars bought it. When it was sort of forced to close due to a problem with licensing issue with what's the word? Not licensing, lease. The lease wouldn't be renewed in the property it was in. So instead, all of the regulars kind of clubbed together and bought the pub, and it is now a publicly run and owned community arts and art space and venue. And it's brilliant.
They're always playing nice music. They've got their own in-house cocktails that they do. They do really brilliant vegan food. So basically, what I'm saying is, not only have we got several different pubs and venues to choose from, but each one has like a different kind of vibe and character to it, depending on your mood or what you're into. Like, we are kind of spoilt for choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the Newport Town Centre. I realise that is not the case for everyone so much. Maybe, you know, you're used to going to the Wetherspoons, you don't really know what else is available. Maybe you sort of are used to kind of travelling around and you can't necessarily, you know, you just think, well, anywhere I go, there's going to be a Wetherspoons, and I kind of know what to expect.
If you are in that position, I've got a tip for you. If you have a mobile phone, then you can download the Neverspoons app, which will let you know the nearest not Wetherspoons pubs. They will give you actually, like, for what type of pub you're looking for, but basically they'll give you a map of local pubs, tell you how to walk to them, where they are, how far they are. It will actually give them, I think, ratings on whether or not they are entirely independent or whether they're over a different chain. But basically, you can go, I know where my nearest Wetherspoons is, where's my nearest other pubs? And so that is called Neverspoons. If you just go into your Google Play or your iStore or App Store, or whatever it is, just look for the Neverspoons app and have at it. Go for your life. You might find somewhere really cool that you didn't know about, and you won't be supporting a dickhead. Because to be honest, loads of people will still go to Wetherspoons anyway. The draw of a £1.29 pint will win out over most people, because most people's political leaning, they won't give a shit. Like, they just want a cheap pint. And I can't really argue with that. Like, if you haven't got a lot of money and you're desperate to go to the pub.
A lot of us are a bit skint right
yeah,
now.
I won't hold that against you. But if you are sort of wanting to vote with your wallet and vote with your feet, there will be other small, independent, cool places that you might not know about, and actually you might really enjoy a lot more. Wetherspoons are fairly, for anybody, because actually I keep being baffled by it, but there are people who watch this from further afield. They are a big chain of pubs. There's no music in them. They're quite soulless, I would say.
Each branch has got a unique carpet, and that's its main selling point.
Is it? Have they?
Yes, that's a thing. Yeah.
Well, I don't tend to go to my pubs for their carpets.
They're kind of.
But yeah, they do cheap food, cheap drinks. They are fairly ubiquitous. There will be some. There used to be 3 in Newport Town Centre.
For a giant, the annoying thing is that for a giant chain, they actually do what they do, like kind of better almost than they have to, or better than it might have been done. Do you know what I mean? Like. In terms of they put on local beers and ciders and things, they have such a kind of competitive edge or whatever that it'd be easy for them to just go, we just do kind of Fosters and
well, one of the things that
they
have on their side, which actually is savvy business thinking, is because they have so many pubs and bars. The way they can serve cheap beer is because they know they've got enough pubs and bars, is they can buy very short life beer, so brewers will sell it to them cheap rather than it go off, and they know they've got enough pubs that they will be able to sell it. I get that's actually, if you've got that's good business sense, fair enough, fine, and that was sort of what it was founded on. But now they've lost sight of their souls, if they ever had one.
Well, this is the thing, because we're not asking you all to embrace sort of communism or Marxism or whatever. We understand that we live in a capitalist society. We're not attacking people for making savvy business decisions, but we are attacking people for sort of
making immoral ones.
Yes, and lying to their customers and sort of undercutting other businesses at a time like this when it's kind of really...
Yeah, because those other businesses will likely be small independents whose overheads are higher because they don't have the sort of bargaining power of a large chain to negotiate their rents and to negotiate their prices, because they can't buy in as such bulk. And they will be people's family-run businesses, small businesses, and it'll be local people and the local economy that will suffer if they go out of pocket. Whereas if a Wetherspoons shuts in a city, they've got hundreds of other Wetherspoons pubs. It won't make a big difference to most people working in Wetherspoons, but like that pub, that independent pub that shuts in the high street, that's not going to move somewhere else. That's just going to close. And so yeah, personally, I won't be going to them. I won't judge you if you do, but if you have got the possibility to vote with your feet, then literally there's an app for it. So if you don't know of your other pubs, maybe you'll find a really cool one. Because actually, let's say you don't know Newport Town Centre and you just get off the train and you go, well, I don't, because there isn't actually an app for just where are pubs as far as I know. But like the nearest pub actually off the train is probably a Wetherspoons. But there's several pubs around that area, but actually the nearest one is a Wetherspoons. But if you have the Neverspoons app, just go, where's my nearest pubs? And you go, oh, there's like 5, like just around the corner, and they're all independent rated. Let's go have a little butcher's. So get the Neverspoons app.
We still have so many things to talk about. The masks, the British government,
the UK government
have said that in England, masks are going to be a legal requirement in shops, I believe, from like the 24th. Now immediately people have kind of said, well, if this is to protect us from the virus, why are you giving them a gap? Why
are you not saying do it straight away?
I presume...
Also, why didn't you say it months ago?
Well, yes, why didn't you do it months ago? But if you've now decided that is a thing that is important,
why put so many days
changing
ahead?
your mind is one thing, but why is this? I presume that's to give people a chance to actually order and get masks.
Yeah.
which
But 10
does
days
seem
seems
kind of,
hefty on that front, and
I guess
actually
if
it was
people
2
are at
weeks
home
when
and
they
they have to
announced.
order them online and then you have to wait for delivery, I don't know. Like, that kind of seems fair enough, although obviously, like I say, I agree with you, they should have done this years ago. It's good for the likes of, the likes of us, because the number of times I've been in a shop and I've been the only person wearing a mask, and I feel very self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
And now, so I hope they bring this in Wales as well, actually.
Yeah, well, currently they haven't said that they're going to, but they
No.
have said they're going to make it mandatory on public transport, including taxis, which that's a step forward.
That is good, but I hope they do it in shops as well.
I
Because when
agree.
I go to the shops, often it's just me. And the thing is about wearing a mask is it's not just about protecting yourself, it's about protecting other people in case because you might be asymptomatic and not know you're carrying anything. I mean, I'm sure you all know this by now. So I'm going out with my mask, feeling self-conscious, but I'm protecting other people. A lot of other people
not protecting you,
not protecting me, and often not. I saw someone on Facebook kind of saying, well, if people are all wearing masks, they'll be less inclined to kind of social distance.
Right.
And my thing on that is, in my experience, a lot of people have not been social distancing enough anyway, so they've already been coming near me without a mask. If they're going to come near me, I'd rather they had a mask on.
Yeah, I think I'd fall on that side of the fence there as well.
I also think social distancing should just be better enforced, like, anyway, and then we can have both of these things rather than either or. But you know, people have been complaining about this and saying it isn't necessary and whatever. And I'm reminded of a quote I read like really early on in lockdown, which I think I've said on here before, but it bears repeating, I think, which is that if we kind of treat, well, it was about going into lockdown. It was saying if we kind of react, and are really cautious and kind of lock everything down really tightly, and we get this right and it works, it's going to look like we've overreacted.
Yeah.
Because lots of people aren't going to die. We need to be prepared to look like we've overreacted, because that is better than underreacting and just loads of people die.
Well, that's where we are. So it's too late to worry about looking like we're overreacting. So we might as well do what we can.
But certainly in this specific thing of, like, again, people going, well, we don't need masks. Well, maybe you're right, but what if you're wrong? Yeah. I'd sooner overreact and put a mask on than...
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very much on the same page on that. I think, like, what harm is it doing to do it?
And I know
like, there are people who are like, it is uncomfortable.
And I wear glasses, I get the condensation and all that kind of
It's inconvenient, stuff. It's uncomfortable, it's, like, not the best, but you know what, like, that's better than fucking killing someone, isn't it? Like, not smoking indoors was banned and people kicked off about it at the time, but actually people have kind of realised, well, it is for public safety and actually it is better. Wearing seatbelts wasn't originally mandatory and they made it mandatory and death rates went down. Like, this isn't sort of, because people like get a bit over the top and they start saying things like, the government is trying to control us, and like, it's just like, it's just public safety. They've always been doing things in like the interests of public safety.
Like how they don't let us do murders.
But like, it's like fine. Like, basically, there is an element of social responsibility that you have to be willing to do your bit. It only works if we all do this shit as a society.
And if enough people it
might be a bit inconvenient to begin with, but you'll get used to it. It's not a big deal.
And if most people are had been wearing masks anyway, they wouldn't have had to enforce it by law. But I think there is, I said that kind of facetiously, but I think there is an element of that, of like, you're not allowed, the law says you're not allowed to do murders. Like, technically, you could go, oh, the government is controlling us. Because, they are.
Yeah.
But for the greater good.
Yeah.
Stop doing murders, you pricks. And I saw someone on Facebook as well, making a good point, kind of going, you've seen a lot of people complaining, saying, oh, well, if I have to wear a mask, I'm not going to go to the shops, I'm just going to do my shopping online.
Okay.
And my friend Chris Purchase said, well, good. I mean, you probably should have been anyway. Like,
yeah. Good. That's more people not mingling with other people. Fine.
If you're irresponsible and the sort of person doesn't want to wear a mask, I'm glad you're staying home.
Yeah. Well, that's what all of this has been, though, really. It's like, the people who are the least cautious are, by default, more likely to be the ones that you interact with. Because The ones who socially distance or stay home as much as possible are at home and are socially distancing. So that's why I was like very much in the forefront of, I don't want to be in the first wave of people going out and doing things, because by default those people who are the most keen to go out and do stuff are by default the least cautious. And I don't want to get in a big old melting pot with the least cautious people. So we should rattle on. There's one or two things on our list that I think we can pop over to tomorrow.
Well,
is that one that you want to do today?
Yes, it is.
And then the rest we'll leave for tomorrow, I think.
Well, so basically...
There's only one other thing, and that can wait.
I know, well, we should at least allude to it, because
okay.
It's very topical. And
It'll still be tomorrow.
I think people will be very upset. So Kate Smurthwaite is a comedian that I think we talked about her on here before.
We have mentioned her before.
She's a satirical political comedian. She does a lot of stuff about politics, and she has got a Facebook kind of group called News at Kate, where she does kind of satirical things. And
excuse me. I breathed in a bit of wine.
Very recently, in the last couple of days, something happened on Facebook with Kate where someone claiming to be a fan was kind of screenshotting abuse from comments about her, from comments on YouTube.
Right.
Posting those on her Facebook timeline.
Right.
She asked this fan to take them down. He refused.
Yeah.
She...
And they were screenshots of people being abusive to her.
About
Kate.
her. Yeah, using it, yeah. And so Kate called him an arsehole.
Sounds accurate.
Yeah, sounds like a good... like she's a fairly astute judge of character in this instance.
Seems reasonable.
He reported her to Facebook.
Right.
And she is now serving a 30-day ban from Facebook for contravening their rules on bullying and harassment. I mean, for a start, I've seen people on Facebook being called much worse than an arsehole, believe you me.
Yeah.
I didn't realise the power of reporting people. But, yeah, so...
So often when you report it, nothing happens. So that's that seems like an overreaction on Facebook.
It seems like an overreaction, and also like a complete misreading of the situation. Like, if anyone at Facebook didn't just see that word, but looked back and saw where that was from.
With reporting and having posts taken down and stuff, it's actually
like an
kind of automated.
Sure.
But you'd think automated would be, okay, well, that post where she calls him an arsehole gets deleted without her sort of say so. But actually implementing a ban, that must be somebody's decision.
Now, already...
Who has Kate Smurthwaite pissed off at Facebook?
I don't know. But already you kind of look at that and you go, that seems unfair.
Yeah.
But it's even more unfair when you bear in mind that, as you already know, if you watch this regularly and are aware of the world, there are no live comedy gigs at the moment. Kate Smurthwaite isn't able to go out and earn any money performing live comedy. Only real way of making money at the moment from comedy is through her Patreon.
Yeah. Which you need to publicise on your social media.
Her main way of disseminating her kind of videos and content and drawing people to her Patreon is through Facebook. Now, she's now banned. She can't do her job or kind of publicise her work for a month. At a time like this when she literally can't go out and do the work she'd normally be doing.
Yeah, that's very harsh. And hopefully will be looked at.
So what I want to say, yes, it would be nice if in the interim she somehow gets reinstated, but if you go to patreon.com/newsatKate, a lot of her videos and content are available for you to watch there for free. And and this is someone as well whose work I've enjoyed. I've seen her shows in Edinburgh. I would recommend her stuff, like, irrespective of, like, the unfairness
I think
of the
we
situation.
have recommended
Yeah, I've recommended
her
to friends of yours in Edinburgh who went to see her and enjoyed her a lot. So she's good at what she does. You can see a lot of that content absolutely for free. And then if you would like to, if you are able to, if you can afford to, then support her on Patreon.
Or you can share it around if you enjoy it, and other people might. So yeah, she's had a big old kick in the teeth.
You can also share some of her videos and things.
Like, share, subscribe, all of that stuff.
So speaking of which, let's not be entirely selfless. We also have like a coffee account if you want to help us keep feeding our animals.
Yeah.
Or if you want to check out my Facebook page and like and share my videos with people you think might like them.
Please do.
That would also be cool.
I will link them up in the blurb. They've been there before, but I'll do them again.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that is a bit
weird,
of a kick in the teeth to her there,
strange
particularly
things happen
at a
to
time
her.
like this. Because I think calling someone an arsehole on your own Facebook page is kind of fair enough, isn't it? Even if they're not being an arsehole. I think it's my Facebook page. Like, just calling someone an arsehole. That's not harassment and bullying, is it? Just calling somebody individually once an arsehole. I've called you an arsehole. You're an arsehole. Am I bullying you? I don't think I am I?
I feel harassed. I tell you what, we do need to wrap things up, you're right. But I will sort of do like a tease for tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
You think you know what your horoscope is, guys?
You don't.
You're wrong.
Well, you might be wrong.
It's,
might have changed.
They've changed. A lot of the horoscopes have changed.
Mine has changed.
Mine has changed. We'll tell you all about that tomorrow.
Yeah. That's some
also,
bullshit. Well, more than it already was.
Again, we'll go into this in more detail tomorrow, but they have been changed by NASA. I would have thought the people that believe in horoscopes and NASA are sort of natural enemies.
The Venn diagram of those are two circles that do not touch.
Like sort of science and nonsense.
Well, I think that might be why NASA have done this.
Do you think? You think NASA are fucking with people?
I think NASA are trying to debunk astrologers. Yeah, basically.
We'll research a bit more about that and find out tomorrow. But basically,
yeah.
I'm a Virgo now, so make what you will of that.
I'll put a link to that article. Actually, I won't. I'll put it tomorrow and we'll have more details for you tomorrow. So in the meantime, like and subscribe.
It's Patreon.
I will put links to that. Like and subscribe. There's no shame in that whatsoever, guys. None.
No fucking shame whatsoever.
None.